often. It's going to be in English, because I'm not a fluent speaker of Danish. We're going to talk about online democracy. Oh, it started, okay. So, internet and parliament. I'm in Denmark, and that's probably why, because we have a good democracy and people are using internet, and it's a perfect place to start experimenting with online democracy. Let's talk about politics a little bit. Politics is art of getting two people making a compromise. So it can start with two people, but it's much more complicated if you have a town hall meeting like this. So people cannot really agree. Everyone wants to speak, and people get bored of listening to each other's opinions. So we basically came up with the solution of representation. So one person actually in European Parliament represents about 100,000 citizens, and in Denmark it's about 30,000 citizens. But there's a lot of problems with representation. People grow skeptic because representatives have often different interests, and they are exposed to lobbyists. So there's, for instance, 2% of representatives living in a rental flat, whereas about 40% of the citizens do. Getting a bit more technical, they align incentives, transparency. People don't really always see what's happening behind the doors, and there isn't enough feedback opportunities if you don't like what's being done. So how can we change that? Can actually an internet platform challenge that? I would say that in 20 or 50 years' time, we shouldn't have any more physical parliament space, but everything should be done online. And how will that model look like? So there's a simple sketch coming. It exists of two modules. The first module is about creating and incubating strong proposals, because we need very good policies to create a sustainable community. The second part is about creating legitimate decision making. So this is basically our social network and how people are listening to each other. The first part, we're going to try to come up with all the ideas. Everyone can come up with policies, and they're going to be prioritized with a system I'm going to just talk about. And then the policies that that are matured and that have a high value, that will be taken for a voting stage by the people. So the second part, it's hard to come up with a participation. How will people actually come online and make a vote on all the decisions? There's a solution I'm going to come to. On the proposal side, we're going to use idea markets. Markets are actually working really efficiently in identifying good stuff, and I'm going to say enterprises. So if there's a good company, then investors will find out and invest money on it. The same can actually work in idea markets for policy markets. There's this guy called Robin Hanson, and he has a futuristic governance model on this. Basically, these people will be investing on ideas that are going to be good for the public, and they will be getting private gains by doing a public good. On the other hand, we need to get people to actually vote on things. If they don't get the chance to vote themselves, they will grow skeptical about the system again. So what we'll do is we'll create delegation lines, and everybody cannot think about every proposal. So people will start delegating their decision-making power to people around them and people that they trust. And it doesn't have to be someone that sticks to power for 4 years. You can change that line anytime, and you can vote yourself anytime you want to. So let's say that we have the system. Let's say that it's working really great, and it's sitting on a server. What do we do with it? How do we go from a system like this to a system where we can actually have a platform that facilitates this? Well, it starts with next elections in 2011, because it needs to be a bottom-up process of people actually taking charge of their democratic right. So the model I'm going to propose is, or I'm talking about, which has been tried actually in Australia and in the US, and I think there's a growing sentiment for doing these kind of initiatives. There will be an administrator candidate who's basically doesn't have a face, doesn't have a name, doesn't have a political view. He's only one of those users online, just like anybody else. And he says, well, vote for me, and I'm going to be sitting in the parliament every day and carrying out decisions made on the platform to the parliament. Whether it's submitting new proposals to the parliament, or it's just saying yes or no to proposed decisions in the parliament, that person is just going to do that. So that will be the hook for this community to grow, because people today, if you are blogging on your newspaper side, if you're blogging on a politician's side, you don't really have any enforcement power, and people grow tired of that. But if this works and the community grows, then there will be more and more representatives of the system. So in a while, it will be the parliament run by the platform. If you like the idea, if you would like to hear more and support it in somehow, networking, feel free to go online and send an email. Thank you very much.